Okay, all right. So for those of you, we are edutainers, but apparently we weren't at the beginning of the webinar. We are really excited to have all of you here today, and hopefully after the next hour, you guys will learn how to level up your sales skills in 2026. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're brand new to property management. It doesn't matter if you're brand new to sales. It also doesn't matter if you've closed deals for 10 years or you've been in property management for 20. Everybody is here for one reason, and that is to level up. Because here's the thing that we're not only learning, but I think as salespeople, we always know 2026 especially is not going to reward average sales skills. It's going to reward more precision, more confidence, and more strategy. So today, I want you guys really asking yourselves one single question every single time, because Jeremy tends to come into these webinars and give you way more information than anyone can swallow in one-hour session, but that's a good thing. But ask yourselves this one thing over and over and over again. What is the very next skill that I need to develop that's going to deliver the highest return for me and for my business? So you guys, not 5 things, not a complete personality overhaul, but just one thing that you're going to level up to get a better return in your business. Because here's the thing. Growth is not going to come from just consuming more information. It's really noisy out there. What it actually comes from is executing all the information that you consume. It comes from tightening whatever the constraint is that's actually holding you back right now. So now I kind of want to address something that most people are not saying out loud. Over the last several years, we've created a lot of friction in the property management sales process. Not intentionally, but it has happened. And we have all of these incredible experts that have come into this industry, and they're real experts. They know what they're doing. We've got pricing experts and marketing experts and ops experts and software experts and legal experts. And every single one of them is giving amazing, solid advice from their lane. So, move to 3 pricing tiers instead of 1. Fee max everything you can to make your property management company more profitable. Cut out Google PPC because it doesn't work anymore. Instead, shift to direct mail. Add resident benefit packages so that you have happier tenants. Stack more value in everything that you do. And none of that, you guys, is wrong. But when you layer all of those things together, you are increasing so much complexity in your business. You're increasing cognitive load when you're talking to people in the sales process. And you're also increasing some perceived risk when you walk people through this, depending on how you walk people through this. So what happens? Sales cycles extend. And where we used to be used to, I don't even know if that's legitimate English, but we're used to really sales cycles that are somewhere between about 20 and maybe 30 or 35 days. 60 days is becoming the new normal. Our Scale Club community, which we coach hundreds of business development professionals in, is reflecting that the sales cycle is 45 to 60 days, and we've gone past the ability to be transactional. That's not even an option anymore. So we're also seeing that a lot of owners are not making quick decisions, and they have more noise and more options than ever. So here's the truth, you guys. If you're asking for more operationally, you're charging more, you're stacking more services, you're positioning yourself as premium because you're being told that that's smart for your business. You had better be a sales stud, ready to sell all these things, all this friction that you're inserting into the sales process. Because the more that you ask for, the more skill it takes for your salesperson to move someone past fear or confusion or complete just indecision. And that's what today is about. So we're not going to talk about tactics. We're not going to talk about scripts that you're going to memorize, but instead we're going to talk about skills, and we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. So the ability to remove friction and create clarity and move people forward in a world where we all have really difficult decisions and too many decisions to actually make. So I want you filtering everything through this lens today. When I make a decision in my business, where am I going to lose momentum in my sales process if I haven't upgraded everything that I'm telling people? And so we've brought a couple of experts in today to talk about this stuff. I'm really excited to introduce to you, many of you probably already know this superstar. It is Melissa. She is part of our team here at Rentscale, and actually she is one of our absolute rock stars in sales. If you're looking to sign up with her, she will crush you. But she has so much expertise in this field, and she's going to share what she does that makes her more effective. And we also have Jeremy Pound, the owner and CEO of Rentscale. He's been in this game for longer than most, but is really specialized specifically in sales. And we've been really focused in property management sales for the last 8 years. So, without me talking more, I'm going to let Jeremy share a little bit more about friction in the process and walk you guys through how to be a little bit more effective and level yourselves up.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks for being here, Melissa. And thanks for everyone for joining us. Looks like we've got a lot of people here. Looks like we're over the 100 mark, which is really exciting. Let's dive in. We got a lot to share today. So, as Jen mentioned, we're looking to help you guys level up, and she introduced this concept of friction, which I think is so important. And so I love what she said. I've just learned as we've done this for 7 years at Rentscale, the competition and the friction in the market and what we're asking and demanding in the marketplace is making it even more important to level up our sales. So it's a very simple chart. I mean, this is completely elementary, two-axis chart. It's the more it is difficult to convert somebody, the better you have to be at sales. So what does friction mean? Friction is just this universal term that we're going to talk about. Imagine when you get hit with a web form and somebody just asks for your email and nothing else. That's pretty low friction if you want what's behind that email form. Now imagine an email form that, or a lead generation form that has your email, has your company name. It wants you to fill out what your company size is. It wants you to enter your revenue for the last 7 years, upload your financials. We're creating a lot of friction, right? That's really what this is all about. In general, human beings just go through life and we don't want a lot of friction. When we enter friction, unless we really want to get something done or we really want to accomplish something, we pretty much just pause what we're doing. And I think it's a great analogy for sales. But at the end of the day, we want high margins. We want the best clients. We want to charge the fees that we know will allow us to build the company that our customers need. They don't know that. We know that because we go to NARPM events, we go to all these things, we hire the consultants that Jen is talking about, and we know that our service is in their best interest. But if we're not leveling up our sales skills at the same time that we're adding friction to our service, we're going to fall behind. And so I think that that's like the thesis for today that I really want to make sure that we get across. So let's jump in. What are friction raisers? There's a million. Every time I show you a slide with some bullet points on it today, I want you to focus on the concepts over what's actually on the page. But this is pretty simple, right? I mean, if we're charging more, there's more friction. If we've got stricter policies and we won't take on certain properties and there's less people we can work with, there's more friction. If we're totally inflexible and we won't let them use the people that they've been using to clean the pool for years, that's friction. That's such a great example, right? And let's talk about reputation, right? If I Google you and you're not there, people call us and they're like, I'm thinking about starting a property management company tomorrow. And they have to understand that they're up against friction compared to people that have 40 years of reputation, tons of reviews. And then of course, tool. I mean, this could just be a mile long, right? So the thing to take away is the higher premium that you charge or the higher premium that you want to charge, which we are encouraging you. By no means is this meant to be like, go back and talk to your boss and be like, we charge too much. If you just lower the fees, then we'll just, be able to sell more. We want you to charge premiums. We want you to do amazing things because we know that an amazing property manager is worth 10 times what an average property manager or a real estate agent who's just doing 4 properties is worth. And the more competitive your market is, the more friction you have. Pretty simple, right? So easy examples. If you want to get 10% of the rent in your market, you have more friction than somebody that's charging a $99 flat fee. If you want to make this really easy, charge $1 a month for management and do return every single email the same day. Your business will explode in two different ways. You'll have more business and you'll have no profit. It'll explode in lots of ways, right? So the more you charge is just one example. The second thing is your reputation. If you've got five-star reviews, everybody knows who you are. You've been the leader in the market forever. You've got lower friction in the sales calls. If you have a half a star review, come on, you got a lot of friction. You really got to be upping your sales game. So it is a super simple concept, but I want you guys to just take stock of what friction am I up against? How competitive is my market? How much am I asking of my client? Anything you say to that is totally fine. There is no judgment from us. But just realize the more friction there is, the more conversion difficulty there is, and the more you are going to be required to perform at a high level in sales. And so we got a ton of clients to get through this. Jen manages our team. We have the largest community of professional salespeople in property management in North America. They report every month. I mean, look at this. On average, the top 50% of our community is closing 19 doors. We've got people in the 70s here and the 30s here. This is overcomable without a doubt, but it's going to take some salesmanship. And so that's why these people are in Scale Club. That's why they work with Rent Scale. That's why they invest in their sales and marketing. And that's what I want you guys to understand. But the rest of the webinar is going to show you how to do that. So I want to walk you through how we can help you with this and how you guys can measure where you are, where you want to be, and know exactly what to do next. As Jen said, that was the entire point of the webinar. So let's set expectations, right? Let's really get down into numbers. Let's talk about what we're expecting here. How much conversion is enough? People love to geek out about this. We go to NARPM events. People love to be like, oh, I converted like 80%. I converted 20%. Salespeople want to be measured. Sidebar, I will say conversion rate should be measured against lead source because different lead sources have different conversion rates. But all that aside, that's a whole other webinar that we can do at another time. Let's just talk about looking at your business and your role if you're a BDM. So I would say that the sweet spot for you guys is that you should be converting 30 to 40% of the sales qualified leads you get. Sales qualified leads means somebody's raising their hand saying, I'd like to talk to somebody potentially about professional property management. It is not people downloading an ebook about, 6 things you need to do to get your rental property ready. Those are marketing qualified leads. Again, very, intensive terms, but I think it's really important to point out. If you can get 30 to 40% of the leads that are raising their hand and reaching out to you or taking your calls when you're reaching out to them and saying, I'd like to hear your pitch, you're gold, right? Anything above that, I know this is a little controversial. I think you should either do more marketing or raise your prices. Anything below that, you're going to want to really pay attention to the rest of this call because we're going to help you basically bridge that gap. So you should always be shooting and be looking at this constantly to make sure that you're in that 30 to 40% of conversion rate of sales qualified leads. So that's really what we're trying to do. That's a healthy business. You're going to be able to invest in your people. You're going to upgrade your service. You're going to be able to take care of your clients. This is where we want to be. So having said that, there's 3 things we got to get right to really be growing our businesses at that level. We need the right systems. We're going to be taking lots of calls, not just one call every 2 weeks, right? If we're going to be getting lots of calls every day or we're going to be getting lots of leads that we have to call back, we need good systems. We need to follow up with those people. We need the right talent. We need the right people that can actually do that. And we need those people to be leveling up, which is a big part of what today's webinar is about. And we, of course, need to execute. We've all had those times where, I used to do a little bit better. I used to be a little bit quicker on calling people back, or I used to follow up a few more times. I used to be better with my time, and I'm in a little bit of a lull. So we're going to talk about all of those things today. So as we go through that, we want to be constantly improving those things. So if you are 10 out of 10 on systems, 10 out of 10 on talent, 10 out of 10 on execution, what I can tell you today is that your vision of 10 out of 10 can get expanded. So there's a old saying I used to use from a mentor of mine is like, if you knew better, you'd do better. And so what we want to do is show you today what a 10 out of a 10 can look like. And I can tell you for everybody on this call, myself included, that definition of a 10 out of 10 is going to constantly be raised. And so we want to show you some examples of that today. But what we want to make sure you know is that you have the high definition sales performance model. So you can say, well, I know what I know, Jeremy, but I'm actually like a 5 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 in different areas. No problem. Level up. When you get there, I can assure you that you will be able to see further than you were before you got there, and there's always a chance to level up. That's what makes the game of sales and marketing so exciting. So I'm going to show you 4 areas of discipline today that I want to focus on. There's a million things we can do. I call this the high definition sales performance model because I want you to be able to see more clearly, more pixels, more definition of what's possible, what you're doing right, what you can be doing better, because I assure you that the first step to getting better is knowing what is possible. So today we're going to walk through these 4 disciplines. We're going to talk about sales skills, which I think that on the surface, everyone thinks, okay, if I hire a Ren scale, they're just going to help me sell better. Skills are very important. We're also going to talk about execution because I don't care what you know. If you're not doing it, it's not going to get your results. We're going to talk about subject matter expertise. That's the SME. I think that's super important. People want to do business with people that are experts in the problems that they're trying to solve. So we want to show you how to become a better subject matter expertise in real estate investing and property management and all things that your prospect is thinking about. And then the real fun, the icing on the cake is the style. We've all dealt with people and we say things like, oh, you must be a natural born salesperson. You must be so good at this. You must have always been good at this. No, these are all things that we can learn. And being cognizant of what style is actually really important because you get to choose it and you become a category of one instead of trying to compete with everybody else. So in the time we have remaining, we're going to walk you through some of these things. We're going to give you some ideas on some of these things. But most importantly, we hope to leave you with kind of a self-assessment scorecard of where am I at on each of these and what do I do next to get better on each of them. So as I walk through this, somebody reminded me that not everybody knows the concept of an iceberg. I think most of our smart people on this call do. Iceberg, as you guys know, 90% of an iceberg is below the surface. I think very often when we look at an amazing top performer, we look at a Kobe Bryant playing basketball or Tiger Woods playing golf or somebody acting and we look at them and we just think, "Oh, if I just look at what they're doing and I do it, I'm going to be just as good as them." But from what I understand, nobody has ever become a tennis champion by watching a Wimbledon once, right? You only see what you see. There's so much skill and there's so much going on in the game that's below the surface. And that's really what we want you to leave here with today. So I'm going to go through those 4 disciplines. I'm going to show you that they're an iceberg. And that's okay because I can assure you, if you ask me 10 out of 10, Jeremy, how are you doing in sales at the end of your first year at your job? I would have said 10 out of 10. Of course I would. If I knew better, I would do better because I think I'm doing everything that I know. But if we can constantly be surrounding ourselves with people that reevaluate our level 10. So my level 10 today starts to become a level 7 when I'm around other people. That's what we try to help people do at Renscale is constantly show you the next step of the iceberg so you can constantly do that. We want to give you some examples of that today. So let's go through them. As you learn your skills, I really think that's the most important thing. I'm going to talk about what each of these include. Then I want to make sure you're executing, because if you're not executing, then why even know it? From there, you can then start to learn some subject matter expertise. And then, and only then, should you really be sprinkling a bunch of style on that. And then when you get there, you go back to the beginning and you do a little bit more skills and you learn more of that. And then you learn how to execute at a higher level. And then you learn some more subject expertise. And then you add some more style. And then you go back to the beginning. So as we go through this, I just want to take a quick interjection because we've got Melissa on here, who, by the way, has been a business development manager for Renscale for 7 years. She was one of our first hires. I've watched her grow dramatically. She is at the top of her game. Melissa, is there anything you learned in the 7 years that you didn't know on day one that you want to talk about?
So much. I feel like I was like a baby little salesperson 7 years ago. Um, but one thing specifically that like stands out to me the most, and I probably learned this, I would say like 2.5 years ago, maybe three, was to ask more questions. And so like I thought I was really good at uncovering someone's issue or problem or like how can I help them? But then learning that there's like tiers to these questions and going deeper. So I don't know if you've ever heard like second level questions, third level questions, or fourth or even fifth if you can get that far. But that is something that I have learned more recently that I think has taken like my sales to a higher level because it's really trying to learn more about them. And the more you can get someone to talk, the more you're going to learn. And until someone shares with you like more information, only then can you really sell them something they need, other than just like, hey, what's your problem? Okay, let's move on, right? And a big part of that is actually being able to listen. So I think a lot of times we can be in the zone, like, okay, I know what I'm going to do next year. Or I know the next question I'm already going to ask. But when you're in that state, you're actually not listening. You're ready to respond right away, no matter what they say, as opposed to listening and then hearing them and then going further deep. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that the best way possible.
Yeah, Melissa, can you tell me an example of where that's really helped you out?
Um, I guess like in my role right now, I could ask someone like, "Oh, what do you think you need to do to grow your property management company?" And they might say, "Hire a BDM." And I could say, "Okay, great. We can help you do that." Right? Like, I don't know why do you need to hire a BDM? Right? So that would be my next question. Well, tell me why do you think you need to hire a BDM? Okay. Have you had a business development manager before? How did that business development manager help or hurt your company? Like, see how I took that from like one to four questions, and you can even go further. But it's really about like, what are they telling you and asking more.
I don't know if everybody on the call saw that, but I did exactly what you were saying when I asked you that second question.
Oh,
I could
okay,
continue to
good.
ask again, and I could say, well, what happens if you don't get the right BDM, right? Like
Exactly.
you've been doing this, and it's very meta, which I love.
You trapped me.
Uh, yes, fantastic. That is so true, guys. Let's just pause on that for a quick second. That is so important. It is so easy for us to be thinking of the next question, especially when you have a rent scale playbook or you've been through the training. We're telling you how to react. You have to calm down there and just take a step in and say, oh man, if they don't get this right this time, they're probably going to sell that property, and that will be a huge mistake, and they may never be able to get back into the real estate investment class ever again. Let me have a conversation about that. So great chair, Melissa. And that was what, your second week on the job that you learned that?
No.
How long were you at Rentscale before you really picked that up?
I guess, oh my gosh, when did I start? I think I started with Renskill in 2019. So probably, yeah, like 3 years ago. So
Yeah.
4 years and 5 years then. Come
Always
on,
more to
quick math.
learn.
Yeah.
Always more to learn, guys. So love the chat. Love seeing what everybody's talking about. Thanks for sharing that, Melissa. We'll bring her back in a second because she's full of these gems. So that's the thing. These are in the order that they are on purpose. I want to make sure you get your skills right. I want to make sure you're executing. Then you learn some subject matter expertise. Then you sprinkle some style, razzle dazzle, and then you keep repeating. And we're going to show you what those can look like today because I think that that's the recipe for going forward. So let's look at each iceberg. I've got 6 things on the slide for each iceberg. I got to tell you guys, I can come up with 40 things for each iceberg. I was going to write them all in a document and give them to you guys. And then Jen reminded me that I give away everything for free. And she's like, stop that. I hate that you give everybody everything all the time. But just know for the 6 that we picked today, we just picked fun stories to share with you guys. There could be 600 things on each of these icebergs. But the point is, you got your surface level, which is your standard understanding. And then you got your HD, that's below the service, right? This is the HD, sales framework process. That's what we want to do. So when it comes to selling systems, we bring you in, we're going to give you a playbook. I think using a playbook, I think consistency cannot be overrated. You need to be selling the same way and the best way every single time. If you know the best way, to handle, I would really like to see my tenant's credit report. Learn that, practice that, sell it the same way every single time. You need the closing framework. I think, Melissa, if you want to drop in, we have a bunch of training on this in Scale Club around the close framework, right? We want to confirm why people are talking to us, label their problems, outline what they've tried before or what they're thinking they're going to do. We want to sell on our solution. We want to expect action. That is the close framework. That is, once you learn it, that's the only way you're going to sell. Below that, we really get in. We can talk about deep discovery. So, Melissa's example teed us up perfectly. Asking those questions, really understanding why they're trying to do what they want to do. Oh, really? So, you have a new job and you're moving across the country. Why aren't you selling the property? Oh, we've tried. It's been on the market. We can't. And actually, my father is a real estate investor and he's trying to convince us to keep it. Oh, fantastic. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like this was a rental? Do you feel like you have the right property to rent out? Really leaning in on that, really doing that deep discovery, right? We want to isolate those objections, but I want to go so hard into using labels to incept because that's one of my favorite things. I love to label everything. People say, they call them accidental landlords. I like to call them aspiring landlords or first-time landlords, or first-time investors or aspiring investors. I think how we label people goes a long way. It makes us stand out and we feel different to them than the other three people that they're calling, but we don't have enough time. So, future pacing. I love the future pacing. So, let's go to that example. If I did the deep discovery and somebody said, "Oh, yeah, we want to rent this home out. We're moving across the country. We can't sell it. Uh, The only offers we're getting are terrible." Fantastic. So, when are you moving? Okay. Wow. All right. So if you're going to be across the country in March, you'll be out of the property in February. Fantastic. By the way, it takes about 2 weeks to rent this thing out. I think we can really be posting this thing on March 15th. By March 15th, you're going to be over in San Diego. I'm going to be reaching out to you and showing you the photos of the listing. You're going to be really excited. Expect 30 days max potentially to rent this property out. What's going to be really exciting is you're going to be moving in, you're going to be experiencing everything. I cannot wait to talk to you April 1st and have your tenant in the place, tell you when you're going to get your first rent check, show you how everything is going. This is really exciting because you're moving over, you're starting a new life. Let's talk about how Mango Tree Property Management can make you so stress-free as we do all this thing. So when I call you on April 1st, are you going to be at the beach or do you think you're going to be having a barbecue? Because I want to know what mindset you're going to be in when I call you. These are fantastic future pacing things. These are things you can learn once all of the playbook is memorized, once you've been to practice, once you've internalized everything, you can start to be playful and you can have fun and you can really start talking as if. So, selling system skills, number one, you got to get it. There's always more. I promise you, if we do this webinar next year, I'm going to have 10 new things that I learned because I'm going to be constantly investing and leveling up before I do that. So, discipline number one, we got three more to go through and lots of stories. So, let's keep going. Let's talk about execution. No matter what you just heard me say and how good I am at sales, if I am not executing on a daily basis, this is all for naught. Everybody in the industry knows about speed to lead. If somebody truly calls in and wants to talk to you, you have to do that. I think that's pretty basic, right? Because if I'm truly in the mood to make a decision today and I pull up Google or ChatGPT or whatever system I use or ask for some referrals, I might be calling three people in a row. What happens when you call the second person and they have an engaging phone call with you because they answered the phone? Do you necessarily hang up after this amazing sales call and then call the third person? Maybe yes, maybe no. If I'm, just trying to get this thing done and it's 10 p.m. at night and I fill out three lead forms, whoever is in my inbox or in my voicemail first thing in the morning is probably who is going to have the most weight. It's very simple. This is high level, surface level stuff. Follow up. Let's talk about follow up. We are seeing such a longer sales cycle, as Jen said. One of my mentors, Chet Holmes, wrote The Ultimate Sales Machine. I love it. He has a great story in there where he took over a company and they looked at the data and they learned that the best reps were closing deals after 8 follow-ups. Meanwhile, most reps were only closing 4 follow-ups. So, what did they do? Well, I think this is just a fantastic story. They didn't lie. They fibbed or they fabricated. And they told all the new hires that it takes 15 follow-ups to close the deal. Now, what happened? The previous employees were showing up and working the phones and following up 3, 4 times, and they were getting disgruntled. They were getting disenfranchised that this wasn't working. The new sales reps that thought it was going to take 15 follow-ups, they would get a close after 8 follow-ups, and they would think that they won the lottery. They would say, "We are the best salespeople that we have ever seen," because they had the attitude that they were going to follow up 15 times to get a close. So what I'm seeing when we're working with a lot of business owners who are doing sales themselves is they think, okay, I called them back twice. They seemed like a really good fit. I called them back 3 times. They didn't buy. Meanwhile, when you look at the people on the leaderboard and we're looking in Scale Club, we are following up, 10, 12, 13 times. There's so much more distraction out there. People are talking to their friends and their real estate pros and they're saying, you can do this yourself. Go on Bigger Pockets, watch a video, do whatever it is. I am telling you, the fortune is in the follow-up is the least appreciated mantra that we can possibly share with you guys. So please do follow up. CRM notes, you're going to thank yourself when you do follow up. I have been using my top performer sales planner recently, constantly writing down what I do, constantly reflecting at the end of the day and saying, what did I do well? What can I do better? I think that the most important below the surface ice level that I want to share with you on execution is you should have a goal for the week. You should say by the end of the week, I'm going to talk to X number of people, I'm going to close this deal. And then you should look back at that on Friday before you leave for the day and say, did I accomplish my goal? And you got to be real with yourself. Don't beat yourself up, but you got to say, did I do what I did? And if not, what am I going to do differently next week? I do think in the sales planner, this identifying what you're actually doing, being conscious of it, saying, I wanted to do this and I didn't. Why didn't I accomplish those goals? Were my goals too high? Do I need to redo those? I think that really good time management is just really good time awareness. And so I want you guys to actually talk to Scale Club members. Tell everybody. That's why we have our accountability meetings every week. Tell people this is what I'm going to do this week. And if you didn't do it, is it because you didn't do it because you just didn't execute? Or is it because you ran into problems and you need to fix those bottlenecks? That's why we talk about stucks. Or is it I didn't do it because it was unrealistic. I guess I didn't know I couldn't close 94 doors in the first week I got the job. We've heard those kinds of things before. So write down your goals, be reflective of them, and adjust it. I think that this is so important. And then relationship quotas. I really want to talk about relationship quotas. We're in sales, we're in business development. We need to be building relationships. This is so important in what we do. So I have a rule that I think a good sales day involves 5 meaningful conversations every day. I think that we should be measuring our MCs. Not that we need another acronym, but I think it's an important metric. What's a meaningful conversation? Should we be so lucky that a lead actually wants to talk to us about their business? That's what we all obsess over. That's a meaningful conversation. Calling an existing client 60 days in, asking how things are going. Do they know anybody else who might want to talk to us? That's a meaningful conversation. Calling a deal that you lost and just checking in on how are things going, that's a meaningful conversation. Speaking to a referral partner, somebody who knows your next customer, saying, how can I help you? What's going on? That's a meaningful conversation. Sales is meant to be a contact sport. If you're not having at least 5 meaningful conversations a day, I don't know what you're doing, right? Unless you've got so many leads that the phone is ringing off the hook, which in that case, you would have 5 meaningful conversations. But if you ever have a day where you go home and you're like, man, I barely talked to anybody today, that was not a successful day. MCs are key. And so if you have 5 meaningful conversations a day, 5 days a week, that's 25. Let's say you take a month off a year, maybe not all at once because you'll forget what you're doing. You'll have to relearn the playbook, but that will be 48 weeks a year. That's 1,200 meaningful conversations. Not all of those will be with brand new people. Some will be with the same person over and over again. I promise you, if you have 1,200 meaningful conversations a year, you are executing at a high level and you are going to be closing business. Which brings us to the point that I think is really important. I want us to all ask ourselves this. What role are you really in? Are you only a salesperson? Do you have your phone ringing off the hook? If so, you need to be focused on discovery, on closing, on follow-up. But like so many of us on this call, we are in business development. We need to be doing more things. We need to be doing nextbound, outbound. We need to be talking to who knows our next customer. We need to be nurturing. We need to be generating leads. This is where the 5 meaningful conversations a day is the minimum that you should be doing. I mean, the minimum. I'm not saying quit your day at noon because you had 5. I'm just saying if you go home at the end of the day and you haven't had 5 meaningful conversations, you are probably not executing at the level that you could be leveling up to, which is what this is all about. So that's sales execution. I think this is so important. This is what we talk about all the time in Scale Club, and it's so important. And it's okay. We're going to get in peaks. We're going to have great times where we're just crushing it. We're going to get into valleys and we're going to get into lulls. Like that is sales. Until we hand everything over to OpenClaw and CloudBot and all of the AI agents, it is a human game, right? We're going to have highs and lows, and we've got to be doing that for sure. So I'm going to bring in our subject matter expertise on subject matter expertise, which is Jen, and I want to have her share some things. But I do want to say before I do that, Jen, did you know that I'm down here in Boca Raton? Did you know that the typical rent in Palm Beach, I know you're thinking about buying down here, is 25.85 right now? That's just for like the typical rent, probably like a 1 to 2 bedroom. Did you know that in Palm Beach County, we're 9,000, I'm rounding up. We're 9,000 rentals under what we need, right? So we have a shortage of 9,000 rentals. Our rent is 2,500. If you buy a property here and you want me to rent it for you, you should know that it's going to be highly in demand, and this is what I can probably get for it. But I need to really look at your property before I totally explain that. So what did I just do there? If you called me and you were an excellent landlord and you're thinking about renting your home, would that be helpful to you, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, talk about subject matter expertise. So the reason that Jeremy's brought me in for this particular one is because this is how I sell. So you guys are going to see Melissa and all of her glory and style in a minute, but I am the subject matter expertise. It's my favorite thing. I come in as the most credible, most knowledgeable expert, and I'm going to actually help people move their portfolios forward or change their businesses. And this is really what I get excited about. So if you guys look at the standard stuff, let's cover that first. So understanding the PMA. We always teach business development managers that the very first thing you should be able to do is you should be able to walk through your property management agreement in each paragraph, summarize it in one sentence. I think so many times what we do is we sell somebody on our service and then we hand off the PMA for them to read and see if they like. Well, guess what? That's all in legalese, and nobody understands legalese, and then they have a bunch of questions, which further creates friction and delays your sale. And so understand your PMA to the point that you can explain each paragraph in it in one sentence, and then you can ask people if they have questions. The other thing on here above the standard, these are the things that everyone should implement, is you should have the vocabulary down. Now, we've built these flashcards, the language of real estate investing. Our community loves these, but when we talk about PM vocabulary, I think it's even not quite this expert level, but it is something like, hey, you need to understand tenants or residents or whatever language that you use. You need to know what a resident benefit package is. You need to know what pricing for your company is. You need to be able to really talk in a little bit of detail about what the local landlord laws are and what people should be aware of. And I think that these things are all important when you think about subject matter expertise. Now, let's go into high definition, because this is where I think it gets interesting. And this is really where you change the game. So at minimum, you understand the PMA and you know what a tenant is, okay? But when we kick things into high gear, you should be talking about real estate investing. And that's where those flashcards come in. Cash flow, cap rates, cash on cash return, get really deep into what this means for people. And talk about client psychology, which is down below, be able to step into the mind space of an investor. What do they care about? I have said for many years, I have many properties. One of them is in northern Colorado, which is where I live. Not a single property manager has come to me and said, "Hey, I understand exactly what you're thinking and what you need for this property, and so let me tailor my messaging to speak exactly to that person." I always say, like, I need someone who can come in and take what's in my brain and say it without me having to say it. And we should be doing that with real estate investing knowledge, but also client psychology. So if somebody came to me in Northern Colorado and said, "I can help you increase the return on your ROI of your property," I'd be like, "Cool, where do I sign up?" Because I have a property manager in North Carolina who just sent me a great notification. They were like, "Hey, your tenant's up for renewal at the end of April. Would you like me to renew them?" And I send it back and I say, "What is your renewal fee and what do you want to increase rent to?" And they're like, "Here's the analysis we did for your property and here's what we'd like to increase rent to and here's my renewal fee." And I say, "Well, that's so much easier than me having to do all of this myself. Yes, please do that. That's nice." But we have to understand our client psychology in order to know what they care about. It's going to be different from an accidental landlord to a self-manager to an intentional investor. And the thing about this job that I think that makes it really fun is we get into the weeds with a lot of different personalities who have different challenges. So we should be having critical conversations based around their psychology and what matters to them. Um, I also want to talk a little bit about the competitive landscape. You have to know what else is out there, you guys. I think one of the biggest things that hold us back is not only do we not really know our competitors, but we don't know who our true competitor is. And I ask my clients this every single time I kick off with them. Who's your biggest competitor? And most of them are like, "Oh, it's, Mango Tree Property Management down the street or Joe Smith's property management over here to the north." And I want you guys to think about something. I think your biggest competition right now in today's environment is self-managing landlords. And number two is the technology that's doing it for landlords. So all the other PMs around you are not really your competition, but what does that look like? How many of you have a free version of TurboTenant? How many of you have logged on and know what it supplies your self-managing landlords? You should know that. So I think when we say competitive landscape, a lot of the times we think about what is the property management company down the street charging for their services? What do their reviews look like? While I want to encourage you to know that, I also want to encourage you to know about the technologies out there and the AI advancements. And you guys, TurboTenant is pretty good. So what are they offering? And how do I position myself as the expert above what they're doing? It's really hard to know where you're going if you're not sure where everything else is. And then the last little bubble on here under HD is the tax advantages. If you come across a intentional investor, that person is going to want to know why they should invest in real estate versus putting their money into Bitcoin, which, by the way, any of you that have done that recently, I'm really sorry. I'm sure it'll jump back up. But there are major tax advantages. So the more we know about that, the more we know about 1031 exchanges and what buying and selling properties really looks like, the more that we can educate people who don't know. Because the best salespeople I know, sure, they ask, sure, they tell, but instead, I think the best that are HD, they teach. They teach people something they didn't know or hadn't considered. And you cannot do that without subject matter expertise.
Well done, Jen. Appreciate that. I hope you guys can really level up on subject matter expertise. We've been on this pedestal for a long time trying to preach this to everybody. I think it's super important, which is why we have the flashcards and all of the training we have. In Scale Club, which we're going to show you in a minute, we've got all kinds of real estate investment training. I need you guys to understand your job is not just to understand property management, it's also to understand real estate investing. Okay, so having said that, Jen, you teed me up. You don't know this, but you were a fantastic example of style. So obviously, yes, you're smiling because yes, you wear great clothes, you have great hair, you have all the style. But what I love that you did is you were constantly showing your hands as you talk. I don't know if you guys know this, but evolutionary, like you think about it, back in the tribal days, if people were hiding their hands, they might have a rock in it, or what was the old weapon? Like it's the thing you pulled back. What is that called? Why am I
The bow
spacing?
and arrow? Are you having a hard time
No, not a
remembering
bow and
the
arrow, a
Okay.
slingshot. A slingshot.
Slingshot.
Oh, the
Yes,
slingshot.
the
Yes.
slingshot. You could have a weapon in your hand. So if I approached you and I wasn't showing you my hands, you are dangerous. But as soon as this is why we shake hands till this day. We put our hands out, we show people I have nothing to harm you with. I watched Jen go through that whole thing. It was fantastic. And I think that you guys should embody that. You should use hands like this. You should look up. By the way, when you look up, that is actually tribally showing you that you're exposing your neck, which is one of the most vulnerable things. So why is that so important in body language? Because if you're holding it down, you're looking down the whole time, you have something to protect. You don't trust the other person. So have big body language, show your neck, use your hands. Like these are very, very tiny, easy things that we should all know in body language when we're in sales. And I just watched Jen do it and she was all about it and showing everything, which was great. So I'm so glad that you guys got to see that. If you watch the recording later, you will see it again. I mean, humor, everybody wants to be funny. Not all of us are funny. Unfortunately, you can't all be like me. I'm sorry. It's hard to do, but it takes a lot of work to be this funny. But we all know the basics, right? The above the surface, like show up, dress up, do your thing. But when it gets below, I want to share a couple ideas with you in any conversation with two people, which is most sales conversations, even if it's three, there's like spouses or business partners. There's always somebody giving energy and somebody always taking energy. So, can you be the battery in the conversation, or are you the energy vampire? Are you draining the battery or are you keeping the battery going? You don't have to be like over the top, like crazy power generator, nuclear plant. Some people are that way. But just know that in every conversation with every other person, somebody is adding energy and everybody else is taking energy. And you should be aware of that. And there are times to do both. And I want you guys to be aware of that. But I really want to talk about the bottom two personalization, which means you're personalizing the sales process. So it seems like that prospect is the only person in the world for you. I want to talk about personal brand, where people can't believe that they're getting an opportunity to do business with you. So we have Melissa here. I want to share a quick example and I want Melissa to expand on it. So let's look at this.
What are you and your sales team doing right now? There's a difference between pros and amateurs. With 2 weeks left in the year, are you phoning it in and being a rebel without a clause? Or doing something like this video? Did you know that your morning routine starts the night before? Well, so does your new year. The seeds you plant today and efforts you make will either set you up for success or not. A lot of the top performing sales professionals in property management are creating content just like this. And you want to know what? It's time to spruce things up. If you want to learn more about what the top PM companies are doing to stay ahead of the game, win more business against competition, and even double their goals and doors in 1 year, well, your presence is requested. Go ahead and book a time on my calendar below, and we can talk more about this. And if you don't, well, I told you, Snow. Snow, snow, snow.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Melissa, I'm just gonna let you take it from here.
I think I need to leave. I'm just kidding.
By the way, I know you let me borrow that top. I will send it back to you. It might be a little stretched out. I apologize, but it's coming back.
Please do. Okay, so yes, let me transition here. No embarrassment at all. So personalization. Well, actually, let's go personal brand because that's totally personal brand first, which is really just creating a brand for yourself, right? And so if you could see in that video, I think that embodies my personal brand. I am not telling any of you on this call to go dress up like that and do videos like that. If you do, you will win deals. But for me, my personal brand has shown just like, I guess like in my background. So I went to school to be a teacher. I love holidays, love all of that, which you can see in there. But it's for me really being able to stand out, really being able to show something different than what others are doing. And my personal brand is being personable. Dad jokes, I saw that in the comment. Yeah, a little dry humor there, right? That was part of the style that Jeremy mentioned, and just embodying all of that. So that's what I got for personal brand. Anything you want me to add there, Jeremy? I feel like I'm embarrassed from watching that.
I know you are, but that's actually a lesson in itself that you were actually embarrassed by doing it, but you did it and you got a ton of attention. And I mean, just personal branding wise, have you won deals because of your personality? Like, explain that because I think a lot of people are like, I'm just here to pick up the phone and read the words and just close the deal. Like, would you talk somebody out of that under that misunderstanding, I guess?
I have won so many deals from videos like this. And not just videos, there's other things I do as well for personalization that I can touch on. But yes, I think when you stay top of mind, so just take that video and we'll forget about that one. But say you make a video and you follow up with someone afterwards, right? And you're reiterating words that they told you or their goals. That's going to stand out versus just like a follow-up email, right? So yes, I have won deals because of this. Another thing I'll hint on is just outside of personal brand, the personalization, which is really how are you being personable? This word person comes up a lot, with your prospects. And so something else that I do really well is being unique to each person I talk to. So I might hear something they say and I go, oh, well, what can I do to make this person understand that I hear them, I acknowledge them, and this was an important conversation for both that person and myself. So I might find them on LinkedIn, or I might find out what their favorite sports team is, or they drop something that they have kids, or that they're baking a recipe, or whatever comes up in the conversation, and I'll send them a personal gift. So there's things from Philadelphia Eagles socks that I've sent in the mail to people. One story I can share is I remember at the time the office I'm in, I had like an antique typewriter in the background. And someone I was speaking to was asking, where'd you get that from? And I'm like, I have no idea, an antique store. Do you want to see it? So grabbed it, brought it up, and he was sharing all about antiques. So I thought, what better way to send him something in the mail? So I found on Amazon, Amazon's the best for all this stuff, this little card holder for his desk. And I sent my business card in the card holder with a little note. So those are just some of the things like personalization that we talk about too, that are different levels of style that can really have you stand out, but also totally win deals.
You are, you've heard the term national treasure. Let's just be all like honest. Melissa is an industry treasure. We're so lucky to have her. Like the things that she does. I love it, Melissa. When I saw that video, we watched that video 15 times at least, just like sharing it because it's amazing. So thank you for sharing that and thank you for being creative and vulnerable enough to actually do that. That got us a ton of attention, which was amazing. So those are the four disciplines we want to talk about today: the sales skills, the execution, subject matter expertise, and style. I told you guys if you get a little bit of each, you just iterate and you go back and forth. And that's really what I want you guys to take away. I mean, as a company, you need the right systems. That's what we were talking about. You need the playbook, you need the CRM, you need to be able to follow up. You need the right talent. You just saw Melissa. I mean, she totally embodied that, right? Being able to do those things. And then you need the execution. And I hope that, when I shared with you what I did, the execution, whatever your 10 out of 10 level in execution is, I guarantee you it's probably a 6 out of 10. All of us can meet somebody who works harder, does more, has a better system. It's not always about working more hours. We're not here. When I say execution, it doesn't mean that you work 90 hours instead of 40. It maybe means you get 90 minutes out of every hour instead of 20 minutes out of every hour, which is sometimes what can happen to us, right? So, all right, I dropped the poll. I want to know from you guys, out of the four icebergs, what do you guys want to know more about? Let me end it and let me share the results. So here's what we got. Jen, are you surprised, not surprised? What's your commentary on this?
I mean, I'm not at all surprised because this is really exactly what we teach. Like, if you think about a triangle of sales skills is the first thing that you have to master before you can move to that next level on the pyramid, which is execution. Then you move to the next level, which is subject matter expertise, and then you move to style. So this is reflective of exactly the pyramid that we would suggest. And I also think, like, as we think about how property management sales is changing, sales evolves every 10 or so years, just across every industry. And we're in the middle of that shift. This is exactly, you have to relearn the sales skills. You have to go back down to the very bottom and relearn how to shift, and then you level up a little bit more and a little bit more.
All right, let's land the plane and see if we got an exciting gift for you. So don't sign off yet. We're gonna give everybody who showed up today that shows that you really want to level up. We want to give you guys a gift. We want to make an offer for you guys, and I promise you will actually be pretty exciting. I know everybody says that.
Jeremy, you're sharing a different screen.
Thank you very much.
Not that it's a bad screen. We can just see Zoom, but I don't think it's what you want people
No,
to see.
it was not what I wanted. Thank goodness it wasn't the other screen. I would really be embarrassed. All right. Does that look better?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So guys, as you level up your company, you got to level up your sales skills. I know that's like a very inflating conversation because we're rent scale, but let's just be honest. If you want to level up as a business, you want to get better clients, you want to charge more, you got to level up your sales ability. Like there's just no other way than that to do it. So the higher premium you charge or the more competitive your market is, which is also unfortunately something out of your control, the more you must master sales performance.